Okay, here we go. Nice and quiet.
Sound speeds, camera rolling.
Holding for sound. Last looks. Calling for last looks.
And set and action.
I need to swap batteries.
You know, making movies is hard.
Making movies is hard.
Welcome to Making Movies is Hard, the podcast about the struggle of being an independent filmmaker. I am Alrik Brissell, the founding host of the podcast. I've been crewing up on sets for over 10 years. I've made dozens of films, shorts and features as either a producer or a director, and I'm just finishing up my first feature film as a writer-director, The Alternate, which is premiering at Dances with Films in Los Angeles on September 11th at 11:55 p.m. I hope you guys are all going to show up to this screening. It's going to be great.
All right. I am Liz Manischel. I'm a writer, director, producer who has done that with 2 features. I'm also a former film critic and a current distribution consultant who does sales for indie films. And my claim to fame is that I managed Sundance's creative distribution initiative. But enough about me. Except for I'm going to now say that last week, Alrik did an interview without me because I was celebrating my birthday. And Alrik chatted with Elza Kephart. Kephart. Which one is it, Alrik?
Let's go with Kephart.
Elza Kephart, writer and director of the horror comedy film Slaxx, which is coming out on VOD, digital and DVD, September 7th. Alrik, I haven't listened to it, but I believe Alrik talks to Elza about being a genre filmmaker, how she came up with the idea for Slaxx, and how she pitched it at Fantasia Film Festival. Okay, we're going to jump right into the interview, but afterwards, don't go away, because we have more topics to discuss, like film festivals, distribution, and we'll even answer a listener question. And before we jump into the interview, I just want to say we want to give out a big shout out to the International Screenwriters Association, ISA, who is a brand new partner of ours. And just quick blurb on ISA. It's an organization designed to connect writers with filmmakers, and they have a bunch of programs they offer, including publishing your logline to a network of industry professionals. They offer consultation contests. They have a top 25 writers list. If you go to networkisa.org, you can sign up for free today. Thank you, ISA. And here we go. Alrik's conversation with Elza.
Elza, welcome to Making Movies is Hard. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Making movies is hard. So glad to be here.
So please give us the elevator pitch for your film Slaxx.
Slaxx is about a pair of killer pants. That's the super short elevator pitch where everyone goes, "What?" And I say, "Yeah, that's right, killer pants." So it's about the story of a young Indian child laborer who is picking cotton. Then something happens to her. We don't see it. And then it's really about discovering why the killer pants, what the killer pants are, what they want, and how to stop them or not.
And then how many days did you shoot the film?
23.
And what was the rough budget, if you can say, even if it's just rough?
I don't think I can say it.
Okay.
From what I understand. So no, I'd rather not.
Under 5 million, under 10 million?
Under 5 million, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll take that. How did you come up with the idea for the film?
The idea came just really by total happenstance. I was on a road trip with the co-writer Patricia Gomez-Slatar, and we had another friend with us, and we were teasing each other to make the time pass about the words that we hated the most. And so our common friend, hates the words Slaxx, and so we kept repeating it over and over to really bug her, and then in the end repeating Slaxx like this, like Slaxx, often enough, my mind gradually thought of a killer pair of pants. And I told Patricia, who we'd written and produced, and I directed our first feature together, so we were already in the horror vibe. And so when I was like, Slaxx sounds like a pair of killer pants, she's like, yes. So it started from that, and it took many, many years and drafts to get to the point where it is today, where it's actually about something and not just about a pair of killer pants. And so that was the initial process. And then because Patricia had worked at The Gap, she worked in retail, And because I've always been very weary of overconsumption and sort of corporate brainwashing, all these concerns amalgamated finally into Slaxx, and it naturally became what it had to be all along, which was about like a revenge fantasy. Killer Pants as the monster slash avenging angel.
Wow, amazing. How long did you spend working on the film from coming up with the idea to it finally being released?
Wow, 20 years. I could have had a child and it go to college right now. Well, we were really young when we came up with the idea. We were 24 or something. But it had to lay low for many, many years because at first it was just sort of a joke. And we knew there was a film in there somewhere, but we had to both mature. And then, so we wrote a draft that was sort of bad. And then another draft, which was getting better, which was set in a store. It used to be set in a high school. And then, we'd made a couple of features together and I was like, Slaxx, everyone just loves that idea. We should really like revisit it. And so rewriting it didn't actually take that long. So it's 20 years, but not really, because for about 15 years, we didn't do hardly anything with it. And then we rewrote it really quite quickly, maybe like not even 6 months or something. And then we pitched it at a film festival, Film Market, and the producer Anne-Marie Gélina came on board really quickly because she loved the idea. So once the last draft of the script had been written, it all came together really, really quickly. Even the draft itself came together quickly. So I would say from rewriting that draft, which was in like 2016, to getting it made was 4 years about, because we really finished it. Well, no, we finished it in 2019. So 3 years, which is pretty average. 3 years plus 20 years of waiting or like 15 years of waiting. Sometimes that's what it takes.
And then compared to all the other films you've made, how difficult was this one?
Oh, it was really hard technically, but I would say because we had a really professional crew and professional actors, it went super smoothly. Everyone was like, really loved the film, really loved the idea. We decided to shoot in February when there was very little film work being done in Montreal. So we had access to really amazing crew. So the whole thing went quite smoothly, but the figuring out the pants and getting to get the pants to act was really hard because no one had ever acted with a pair of pants before, and sometimes I tried to explain something and it was hard to explain in words, like how I wanted the pants to act. So I would try to mimic it and stuff. But the atmosphere, the atmosphere on the set was really good. The actors were awesome to work with. They were hilarious. So it's sort of a good time, but you always need more time. You always need more. But in the end, we made it work with the resources we had. So it's good.
I want to unpack a bunch of things you said in the first few questions. So, you mentioned that this was a 20-year process. So did you write this before you wrote your first feature that you actually made?
No, we wrote it like maybe a year after.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Patricia and I had met just when we were sort of mutual friends in high school. And then when I got back from college, I went to college in Boston, and we were sort of joking around at a party and decided to make a zombie movie together. And then the year after, she moved to do her master's in Florida, and I would go visit her. So that's when we got the idea for Slaxx. And so we had just sort of half finished a movie because it took a couple of years to finish. So Slaxx is sort of part of our lives for a long time.
I did a little research on you, and I saw that you've had some pretty great film festival success, especially in the genre film festival space, which is the space I'm very interested in. So I'm just curious, I know this is kind of going to be a long answer, sort of meandering question, but is part of how you're able to get to the place where you're able to make Slaxx from the success of your first feature, or was that sort of like just the launching pad that you got you started, and then it was sort of the next feature and then next and building off of that?
Well, I think every film you make adds to your experience and adds to your credibility. So if I had just shown up with Slaxx, when I was 24, even though people loved the idea, I don't think I would have gotten the financing because I was still very young and I had only had like one crazy zombie movie under my belt. So I had to make more films to sort of understand, especially my process as a filmmaker, as a writer, and to become more confident with myself. But also I worked a lot on American productions, shooting in Montreal, especially in the art department. And that really helped me, that experience helped me understand how to communicate with people. And I also worked a lot as a personal assistant to directors. So I would observe directors, see how they, talk to the cast and the crew. So all of this, coupled with my own film experience, made me finally be able to say, okay, I think I can, with confidence, go about making this crazy film. So, it has been a long time, but I'm not sure I would have been necessarily ready to make it psychologically before, because maybe I could have done it like in my late 30s, but I needed to accumulate all this experience and really know myself, because it's such a weird film that if I said like, it needs to be like this, like I want this like this, and I was much younger, I think people wouldn't necessarily have listened to me or taken me seriously, or I wouldn't have been able to defend my own choices. But because I had this baggage and this experience and self-confidence, I was able to defend my ideas without necessarily always knowing why, like, why do you want this wide lens? I'm like, I don't know. I just feel it. I can't explain to you. I'm not going to write like a film essay about why I like using wide lenses. You have to trust me on this, and then in the end, people did. So it's all been a life process getting to this point.
So to talk about doing the pitch at the film market for Slaxx, like, were you there for another film and you just had the opportunity to pitch, or did you go to multiple markets, and which market was it that you actually were able to pitch the film and find your producer?
So it was the Fantasia Frontiers co-production market, which I'd been going for a long time. It started, I think, in 2012, and we pitched in 2017, I think. But prior to that, Patricia and I had written a pitch for a vampire TV show, and we'd been accepted to this workshop in Italy. And one of the workshops we were given was how to pitch, and we had to pitch at a TV market. And that was like maybe 6 months before the Slaxx pitch. And so we'd really gotten quite good training, and the Italians were really brutal. Like we would practice the pitch and they'd be like, no, this is terrible, get off the stage. And so when we applied, so I knew about the Fantasia market, and we applied with the script. And when we were accepted and we had to pitch in front of an audience, we were really, really well prepared by that brutal Italian workshop. And so we were able to really make an impact, and we had been selected as like in the women's corner, I call it. And so luckily there were much fewer pitches. We were about 6, and the audience was really packed. And so instead of having like half a day of like grueling pitches, they had really short pitches and much fewer of them. So I think the audience was really ready to hear us. And when we came on board and did our like mini presentation, everyone was like, what is this? And then Anne-Marie Gélina, the producer who ended up coming on board, was like, I want this, girls, I want this right away. And we were like, oh, okay. So I think it was like a lifetime sort of going to Fantasia, going to those markets, seeing those pitches, practicing with other projects. It's all accumulated knowledge. And maybe if, like, I don't know, hopefully we can make our vampire show. That would be really fun. But, maybe it was just good training for this moment. So I think it's all part of it's all part of learning. And you never know when something you learn is going to be useful. So I think it's always good to just try opportunities that present themselves, and then maybe they'll lead you somewhere really unexpected.
Digging into the Fantasia pitch a little bit more, like, did you have visual aids or anything? Or was it just you two on stage pitching? Like, what was your process of your pitch, and how long was it? Was it 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes?
No, I think it was 6 minutes or something. It was quite short. We had the poster. So like in 2005, I think, is it 2000? Oh my God, it sounds like it's so long ago, but it is. I really like coming up with posters for my own films. And so I had this sort of flash of an idea for a poster. And so back in 2000, whatever, like we decided to try and pitch it at the Toronto Film Festival, which was not the right place at all. But we ended up making a poster for that market, not even market, for that, what we thought would be a great way to find a producer. And so we had this poster sort of hanging around and everyone loved it. They're like, oh my God, the Slaxx poster is the best. It's so great. So we just had this thing and we were like, well, we'll just use that as a visual aid because it sort of speaks the whole thing. It speaks to what the vibe of the film is. And so I think, and we didn't have anything else. I mean, I had done a lot of visual research, but we didn't have a lookbook or anything. We just had that big poster like behind us. And then we just talked to the audience. We had practiced and the pitch. So it was like a performance. So Patricia and I would start and then she would continue and vice versa. So we performed in front of this huge poster of Slaxx. And I think because a lot of people sort of knew who we were, that helped. We weren't completely unknowns, so we'd hung around the market for enough years, like, please listen to us, please listen to us. That when we came with something that sort of sold itself, it all really came together.
And had you had a film play at the festival at that point, or was it you had gone to the market years and years and years?
No, I had my first feature, Graveyard Alive, A Zombie Nurse in Love, played at Fantasia in 2003. And I had been going to Fantasia almost since it started. And then I had a short film play there, I think in 2006 or something. So, but I didn't have that much. My second feature didn't play at Fantasia. It played at a more art house film festival because it was not a horror film. And so I was sort of there in the background. People knew who I was, but it'd been a long time since I'd made something. So I think just the kookiness of the project is what really got people excited. And then when they saw the poster, they're like, okay, there's thought behind this, And then when we pitched the thing, they're like, okay, there's a real story. It's like really well structured and it makes sense. So I think we took everyone by surprise. That was a real big advantage.
And then once you got your producer on board, was it like, okay, we're off the races, money's here, let's go make the movie? Or was that just the beginning of the pitching process where you had to pitch multiple financiers over and over and again until you actually secured your financing?
Well, we're Canadian, so we have a very different system where we go through the grants. We have two funding agencies. We have Telefilm Canada, which is like the federal agency, and then the SODEC, which is the Quebec provincial agency. So, and they have deadlines. So we applied to the SODEC, which I think the deadline was like a month after Fantasia, which was totally insane, but we were pretty ready. And then we didn't get the funding this first time, but they loved the project. So we were pretty sure that the second round we were going to get the money, which we did. And then once we had secured SODEC financing, Telefilm, which was also looking to get into horror and women and, supporting women filmmakers, because SODEC was on board with a big chunk of the money, they sort of just came on board naturally. And then it was Anne-Marie who secured with a US partner the rest of the financing. So I wasn't there. I didn't see any of that. I was really a director for this one. Wow. But it did come together pretty quickly. I think just because the concept was so insane. And once people read the script, they're like, oh, it's about something amazing. Okay.
Yeah. The financing from Canada must be super nice too, just to have a good starting place to jump off of, but I'm sure that it's probably also one of those things where not every film gets it, right?
No.
It's not just oh, I'm in Canada, I just get the financing. Because sometimes you hear American producers talk about that. I had one producer who was like, oh, I'm got a Canadian visa. Let's put a Canadian person in this movie and then we'll just get the money off instantly. And I was like, I don't think that's how it works.
No. I mean, there's two things. There's tax credits, which American productions can get just by shooting here. So that's not, you don't even have to really apply, but you have to front the money and then they reimburse you. And then there's the granting system to really fund Canadian artists. And that's, you know, between 5 and 10% get production financing. So it's a very, very small number. And if you get refused twice at the SODAC, the provincial body, you can't resubmit. So then there's no real other way. You know, you could have been working on a script for years, and then for some reason it's just not good enough, or maybe there's too many of that same script that year, or whatever. You're just like, there's no alternative. And we don't, I mean, I guess I could go to the States. I mean, I guess I can because I have American citizenship, but I mean, other people, they don't really, if their film is in French, like they don't necessarily know how to maneuver the American system. I still don't really. So it has a real double-edged sword. It's definitely not as easy. And it's like, for example, horror was not regarded for many, many years. They just didn't think it was a real art form. So I really struggled for a long time to get production financing. And because of a changing of the guard, especially at this provincial agency, there was a woman who came on who really liked horror. I think that really changed things around for a lot of us. Finally, horror was not just tolerated, but was something that they actively look for, and they try to make space for it in their financing, I don't know, grid, you know. So you, like, if there's 5 dramas and 0 horror, then you have a good chance, or 1 horror, then you have a good chance of getting the financing, because it means it's diversifying the films they finance.
So is that why you made more of a fantasy film for your second film and not like a straight up horror genre film? Or was that just because that was the story that you wanted to tell?
Yeah, that was really the story I wanted to tell. I knew I wanted to tell like a more sort of intimate, smaller story. And it had been a story that had been running around my head for a long time. So that's why that didn't really come into my mind, because I didn't get financing for that one.
Oh.
I applied to the arts councils, which are for like really artistic niche projects. I didn't get it. And I applied for the grants actually for post-production. I didn't get it. So I had to self-finance that one. And that one, it was even weirder. It's like totally out of any category. And so, yeah, no, it wasn't a strategic choice. Let's just say.
So in that situation, when you do have to self-finance, is it that point that you're like going to try to find, just financiers or who you know, or people who might be able to, know, jump in?
Yeah, I mean, that one was financed by like crowdfunding and my own savings and my family. So I think I was just at a point where I really needed to make another film, and there was this sort of smaller, more manageable story, which in the end was not the case, because I wanted to shoot in really far away locations. So we ended up shooting in like locations that were insanely hard to get to. Yeah, so that was a bit of a learning curve. Like, if shoot around your budget, like make sure you can do what you can do instead of like going for Werner Herzog,
Was it like local locations where you just had to do a lot of hiking to get to them, or was it more like you flew to other countries and stuff?
No, we didn't fly. It was all shot in Quebec, but Quebec's very, very big. And so one location was a 12-hour drive away, because I had to shoot on this like insane island. And then we had to take a Zodiac to go shoot on this island.
Wow.
I mean, it looks great. It works in the end, but I had done like a huge location tour of Quebec with some location managers years before, and sort of pick the locations. I don't know how people were like, yeah, sure, that sounds great, Elza. Let's make this like Adam and Eve mythical, intimate bio journey in the far reaches of Quebec.
That's funny. Sorry, I had a really good question and it sort of fell out of my head. So I guess the question is, like, do you think of yourself as a genre filmmaker? Like, is that kind of what defines you as an artist, or are you kind of open to like other types of films and ideas?
I mean, genre, I definitely. I've never been interested in. Well, it's not true. I think when I was a kid, I always loved really dark stuff. Like, I read really dark materials, like mysteries and fantasy and supernatural stuff. And then I went to film school, and I sort of forgot that's what I really loved. And so I was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna make dramas. I don't know, like I don't know what I'm gonna make. And then when I got back and I wrote the zombie movie with Patricia, and I did research, visual research, that I sort of fell back into all the horror movies, and I was like, wait a minute, this is what I really like. Yes, okay. And so I wouldn't say everything I make is always going to be the same. Like I made a zombie movie, Slaxx is like a slasher. I'm developing other stuff that's not necessarily, but doesn't necessarily have a monster, but there's always like a weird element that's not really of this world, and that is definitely what interests me. I'm not interested in telling stories that don't have a supernatural, or at least a really like absurd sort of violent element. I couldn't imagine making a family drama, yet I wrote one in college, but I never made it, so maybe that's telling.
So one of the things that we talk about on the show a lot, just because we try to, to sort of lift the veil on filmmaking and what it really means to be an independent filmmaker. Are you now at this point, after 3 features, providing for yourself off of your filmmaking, or are you still like working as an assistant, doing art department work, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, to be honest, I haven't worked in feature films since Slaxx, not because like work is magically coming to me, but because I had savings from Slaxx, and I get little contract work, like to do, script consulting here and there, script coordinating, like I'm doing that for a TV show. I don't really want to work in productions anymore. Like, I think being a director and then being told what to do, like, I'm not sure. I'm going to apply for screenwriting. You can apply for development financing in Quebec. So I have another project. I'm going to apply to that, hopefully get the money, because that's also how I've been working, making a living is, once every 2 or 3 years, I'll get a development grant. And so that takes me, I can live off that for a couple of years. But I try to, really have a minimal lifestyle, so I don't have to spend a lot of money to live, because I don't really want to work for people. I want to create my own ideas, and that takes a lot of mental space, So, but hey, if I have to end up working, I don't think I'll be getting work as an assistant. I'm too old. After like 35, I tried to get work as an assistant once or twice, and I didn't get it. And I was like, what? I'm like, all right, I'm old. Okay. So, but
it's time for someone else.
Yeah. But, if I have to, I will, but I would rather not, like the corporate machine of Hollywood, like being a peon in that, I think I would have a real hard time going back to that.
So after making 3 features, like, do you feel like it got like easier each step of the way to like get the project off the ground and secure funding and everything? Or was it kind of just as hard each time, but just in different ways?
No, Slaxx was easier for sure. I mean, I had never gotten production financing. I had gotten development financing over the years. So, and I was amazed and I had tried to get production financing. I had applied for grants here and there, but I had never gotten it. So I think Slaxx, it was just a good combination of the film, the timing, and the team that made it easy, because it's not always easy for everyone. I was quite surprised actually how well received it was. I thought the Quebec funding body would be much more what's the word? Not weary, but I thought they'd ask us to do proof of concept of the pants and stuff, and not at all. They're like, so how are you going to do this? And we explained it to them. They're like, okay, sounds great. And I was like, what? Like, okay, I guess. They're like, no, you're a good team. We trust you. I'm like, oh, okay. So that really surprised me. I mean, I think there's always challenges. Like, I'm writing this other script now, which is set in Quebec, and it's in French. But that is it's like more like a psychological drama with a possession element. So that's it's a higher budget. And and you would think it would be easier, but because the script itself is much trickier, it's much more nuanced, that's presenting its own challenges, because it has to be just so, like Slaxx is sort of so insane that it just worked because it was insane. And this one, we were realizing that it's a real fine line. And if too much one way, it's not going to work. And too much the other way, it's not going to work. And so it's a whole new set of challenges. But I think it would be like that for any project. But at least now I think that if they read the script and they see my director's treatment and they look at Slaxx, I think there's a good, I wouldn't say a better chance, but at least they know that I can deliver something that on paper might be hard to imagine. So they know that I have the experience to do that. But it's pretty tricky in Quebec. You don't get like you don't get a blank check. They really make sure that the money they have, they invest in real projects. So you can't rest on your laurels and be like, oh, well, my previous film worked so well. This one is a shoo-in. No. They make you go through the ringer, which I think is quite good, actually.
So do you Slaxx is just coming out on VOD and on demand and everything, but it's been out in the festivals and everything. Do you feel like your life has changed at all as a filmmaker due to the success of Slaxx? Or is it kind of like, this movie is done, I'm really proud of it, I'm happy with it, but now it's just on to the next one, same challenges as, before?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I thought because Slaxx was released during COVID, I didn't get to go to the festivals. And that's where I was expecting to meet a lot of people, like agents, managers, film, like producers, that I'd be able to like pitch my crazy ideas that don't really work in Canada. Like I have some TV shows that sort of need to be made out of the States. And I sort of missed that boat. And so people are like, oh, wow, you must be pitching a million things. And I was like, no, I'm just sort of sitting here working on my crazy projects, just as the same as I am usually. So I wouldn't say my life has changed like on a day-to-day basis. But I would say that my confidence in myself as a filmmaker and as a writer has been, let's just say, has been validated. Where I wasn't sure before of my skills, now I'm like, okay, I can do this. And so I feel that's really important for the next films I'm gonna make, is that I feel confident and I can trust my artistic intuition, because I know that during Slaxx, when I wasn't sure exactly why I wanted something or why something had to be this way, and I proved right, my instinct proved right, then I can rely on that in the future, to say, well, look, I'm not sure why I want this room to be red, but it needs to be red. Remember in Slaxx when I was like, I want the basement to be like that, and it turned out right? Well, this is the same thing. And then, I think that goes a long way, because it's a lot of money. It's a lot of stress. Like producers they risk a lot by investing in film, even if it's not always their money. So I think the relationship with the producers has changed in a way, because now they trust that I can deliver something that's really bizarre.
Yeah. So the question is, what advice do you have to like a filmmaker who is like just made their first feature film? They're trying to get it out into the world. They're going to their first film festivals. They're, trying to make them as successful as possible. Like, you've had a lot of film festival success. Like what should the person in that situation do?
Well, definitely get out of your comfort zone. Like I'm very introverted and I hate talking to people. Not like I don't hate talking to people. I mean, like you, I don't hate talking to you, but I like at parties, I'm like there with my glass, like, so try to get out of your comfort zone. My producer Anne-Marie said she always tries when she's at parties to talk to 3 new people, which I think is really great. And it's good, I think, if you have ideas that you're working on, it's good to have them ready to practice, because what I realized with Slaxx is that I was able to pitch it and I could see people were really excited. And I was like, okay, if I can do this, if I can pitch this just this 2-minute pitch and people are excited, that means a good thing. It's a good thing. And then other projects that I sort of meander and I don't really have a great pitch and I could tell people are like, then it's not ready. Like, it's a good gauge of how ready your ideas are to be produced, and just meet people. You never know who you're going to meet, where they're going to end up at, and where they can be helpful. I mean, I wouldn't say like just be Machiavellic about it, just be honest, but you never know if someone, a filmmaker you meet is going to end up doing something great and remembering you and liking you and helping you to open doors. And go see lots of films. I think being in a film festival is amazing to see films are really immersed. And I remember going to TIFF, to the Toronto Film Festival, because I was in a director's, it's called the Canadian Film Center. It's a bit like the AFI, and we had a free pass at TIFF. And I saw so many films, and this is going to maybe sound bad when I say this, but I finally understood what directing meant. Before I could I was like, yeah, sure, you put the camera over here. But then after seeing like 40 films or whatever, I was like, okay, I know what good directing means now. I can tell. And so there's something to be said for that, for like absorbing an insane amount of films all in one go. And getting to know programmers. Programmers are usually really, really nice, and they really love films, and they can open doors for you if they know you. So just meet people and be nice to them. Don't be an asshole.
Go to the festivals, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Sounds like that's the main takeaway I've got from this.
And watch lots of films.
Yeah. No, I got to go to a bunch of festivals on one of my first short films that got into a few, and so I got to go to like 5 or 8 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And it was a lot of fun, and I actually got to go to Toronto After Dark. Shout out to those guys. That was really fun. So that's like my experience too. It's just like meeting filmmakers, talking to filmmakers, having a blast, enjoying films, supporting your film, being your biggest cheerleader. Yeah. Those are the kinds of things that, I always say. So it sounds like similar thought processes. So we have the final 5 questions, and these can be slightly longer answers than the first 5. So I'm just going to go right into the first one. And you can answer this however you want. It can be your first short film, your first feature, whatever. What's the first film you ever made, and how do you feel about it now?
Oh my God. The first film I ever made was, I was 12, and it was called Fisherella. It was a sort of a compendium of a lot of fairy tales. And I got my friends to star in it, and I acted in it too. And I remember I was really mad because I didn't understand when I was 12 that a VHS doesn't look good. Like the VHS. I was like, why doesn't this look like it's on the film screen? It looks like shit. I was really mad.
You hadn't learned about lenses yet.
No, it's just like this VHS camera I'd bought with some money from a birthday. And I guess it taught me that looking back, that I was always interested in sort of fairy tales and mythology, which I think is horror film is like a different aspect of that.
Yeah. What's the best filming advice you've ever received?
Go make films.
Do you have a goal as a filmmaker?
I didn't used to have a goal, but now, because since 2018, I really understood the depth of the climate crisis. And how much we need to change our way of thinking about the world, especially in the Occidental Western world. My goal is to use my art to make people reflect upon that.
Very well thought. Most people are like, I don't know. If you could go back in time, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Oh, wow. That's a hard one. There's a lot. I guess, listen to your instinct.
And then the last question, is making movies hard?
Yes. But great also in the same. It's both great and hard. So it's not because it's hard that it shouldn't be done. It gives us sort of meaning to life, like making art, which I think is more important than having it easy all the time.
And since we have a few more minutes, I just want to sneak in one more question, and I'll make it a Slaxx question. So talk to us about like the most bizarre, over the top like stunt that you had to film on the shoot, or it doesn't even have to be the most bizarre one, but like a great stunt story that was a challenge to get right on camera.
Well, definitely the influencer death, because we did that in one take. Not one take, we did many takes, but we did that in one uninterrupted shot. And in the end, we ended up cutting it up for editing, for timing purposes. But yeah, if you can imagine doing that one death in one take and getting it right, insane. And the actress did it, I don't know, we think we did it 13 times. And she did her monologue 13 times, like bang on. Well, that was the most impressive, I would say, coordination of acting and special effects skills all at once.
Because was it puppets or like a puppeteer for the pants the whole time? Wow, yeah. Amazing. Yeah. And how many people did it take to operate the pants?
It depended on the shot, because almost every shot needed a different rig. So it depended on the rig, really. If it was just walking, it was one person. If it was its face, it was two people. It was no more than two. Okay. Once it was three, because it had to jump. So it was like two people were the legs and one person was the mouth. But it really depended. Like I said, every shot was different.
Awesome. And just how long was that long take that you did? Do you remember like the time of it?
I don't know, maybe two minutes or something.
Oh my God. And then you cut it up in the edit. Was that like a killer moment for you, or that you guys had to do that? Was it really hard?
It was. There were a few shots like this. Like the opening was supposed to be one shot, and the timing just didn't work. And so that was really hard, because we spent half a day getting that one, the opening montage. It's not really montage anymore. And then the one where with the influencer death, it was hard, but it was the right decision. The rhythm needed to be accelerated. And in the end, you do what's best for the film. You have to forget how hard it was and how long it took and how awesome it is technically. And you just have to do what the film needs.
Do you think on your next one, you'll plan less oneers like that, knowing that they'll probably get cut up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, it's not my style. I think for some people it's really their style, but for me it's not. It was sort of like, I thought it would be cool, but I have to do what my style dictates.
Yeah. I just went through that. Yeah. Same thing happened to me on my film. I'm just finishing up my first feature, and we had tons of oneers that were going to be oneers, and they got chopped up. Half of them got cut from the movie. It's like, okay. I wish I would have known that before I spent 6 hours working on it.
I think I think you develop a style, and if that doesn't end up being your style, but there's always things on a film where you're like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to do it just like that and spend hours doing just that. And then in the end, the film doesn't want it. The film knows what it needs, and and you better listen. I guess that's a good piece of advice, is the film knows and the script knows what it needs to be beyond you. So you better listen. You're like a vessel. So you better listen to what the piece of art is telling you to do, and get your ego out of the way of the piece. Because I think we're sort of like satellites, satellite dishes. We receive information and it goes through us, and the thing gets sort of filtered through you, of course. So it does take on your perspective, but it is its own thing. So you have to listen to what the thing wants to do. That's like amazing advice. Yeah, definitely going to take that to my next project. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been fantastic. Where should people go to watch Slaxx? Well, you can definitely go to our website, slaxxmovie.com, because then there's a list of all the places you can go. You can go watch it. It depends what territory you're in. So yeah.
Nice. Awesome. And when does it come out? Is it already out now or coming out soon?
Well, it's out on Shudder in the US and other English language countries. It's out in Canada. It's online already. And on September 7th, it's the DVD release and different platforms.
So, and it's got special features, I hope, on it. Commentary track, maybe, on the DVD?
It doesn't have a commentary track, but it does. I know. I was like, wait a minute. It doesn't have a commentary track. I just realized that myself. But it does have like a lot of behind the scenes. We had a great behind the scenes video maker. And so, you get to see a lot of the pants and the cast and all that stuff.
Awesome. So people at September 7th, check out the DVD, and I'm sure this will come out either right before this September 7th or right after September 7th. So either way, check it out.
Alrik, tell us, since I wasn't there, tell us, just sum up everything that you talked with Elza about.
Yeah.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
She was amazing. I'm so jealous of her career. This is gonna say it, be very honest. She makes movies pretty much full time now. She does the whole grant thing, and that's kind of one of the ways she pays the bills. And she just goes from project to project. She was like working on sets, like in the art department, and as an assistant and doing things like that. But she's I think she said she was like in her early 40s, I believe. Yeah. So like she's like I can't do that anymore. like even when I was doing it, I think she was saying like in her mid 30s, it was like, too much. like
just a lot of labor and the hours.
No,
were tough,
just like
applying
for assistant jobs as like a 35-year-old or a 32-year-old or however old she was. It was just like she had something.
She outgrew those.
Yeah,
positions.
she's like just couldn't be doing that anymore, And now that she's like made 3 features, it's just like that's not the work she's going back to. So she's just doing other things, consulting, writing, and then like doing the grant thing. But like with being in Canada, like talking about the fundraising with her was really interesting because like it was all like like kind of generated off of the government money. But one of the things that she said that was really interesting is like people hear about this, and I've actually had American producers be like, yeah, I've got Canadian citizenship. Let's like go to Canada and like make a movie there and like get the government money. And what she was stressing is that it's like, yeah, do you realize how many people apply for this and like how many movies get selected? Like I've applied to this project that these there's 2 different agencies that do it, and she's applied to both of them multiple times and never gotten it until Slaxx. Like Slaxx was the first time where she got any government money, and the other films she made, she either self-funded or did crowdfunding, So while this does exist, it's not like, oh my God, just because you're a Canadian filmmaker, you get to make your own movies. It's like, no, you still have to apply, you still have to go for it. And for a long time, I guess they didn't recognize horror as like a genre of note, at these agencies, whoever's making the decision. But like in the recent years, they've decided to allot like a certain percentage of their funds to genre, to horror. And so she thought that was part of the reason why she was able to get the grant, was because, she was applying as a horror project, and like, she was able to like, kind of get into that niche that they have available for it. So yeah, it was a really interesting conversation. She's fascinating to talk to. I really want to watch Slaxx now. It sounds like an awesome movie.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
It looks so fun.
And I mean, I don't know. Like, I really can't wait to see what she makes next. I mean, I know it's going to be awesome, whatever it is. And she like she talked about how like she like started as a genre filmmaker, then she made this movie that was more fantasy and drama and like just kind of experimental. And it sort of took her away from that. And now she's like back in the genre world and like loving it. And like, that's sort of where she wants to be, and I'm like, yeah, I feel that same thing. But Liz, I think it's time for another soap dish.
I'm Lori Craven, and I'm an actress.
An actress? Really? How nice for you. I'm Betsy Faye Sharon, and I'm a bitch.
So Liz, this just feels like my corner to like just vent to you and like ask you questions, which is great. as everyone knows, I'm in the middle of my film festival run for the alternate, or not the middle, I guess the very beginning is to be honest. We haven't played a festival yet. We're premiering at Dances with Films September 11th, just so your brains get that injected into them.
11:55 p.m.
Yes.
I bought the tickets, by the way, so
yay!
I'm ready to give them away when anyone wants them. I'm excited.
But yeah, one of the things that's been happening since I've gotten to DWF is I start to get emails from producers reps and sales reps asking about the alternate, and they're like, oh, congratulations on your DWF premiere, like here's what we do, like send us the movie, we'd love to see it, and I've gotten probably 6 of these so far.
I bet I could guess at least 2 of them,
okay.
And if you give me the other 5, I will most likely have heard of all of them.
Do you want to guess, or should we play this guessing game, or should we not out them on the show?
You're right. We shouldn't out them. We won't out them.
Well, anyways, like they range from like because I have the benefit of having a producer who knows all these people and is like in distribution and sells movies, and I sold a lot of his movies without reps of any kind, and so like I'm able to just vet all these people with him and be like, oh yeah, they're like, these guys are great. Oh, it's a good company. We should definitely like follow up with them. Oh, these people, we could probably do better than them, but blah, blah. But basically the thing that we're doing is like just responding to each person and then saying, oh, well, we'll share the movie with you once the premiere happens. Like we don't want to share the movie with them until the premiere. We're just sort of waiting and sort of just, not releasing it to them now, just because I don't know why. That's what Jeff told me to do.
I don't think you'd be in trouble if you shared it with them now, but I get that, and I think that's a strategy that people used to really they used to do for a long time. So I mean, it's a standard.
I think the other thought is that like we're not sure what other film festivals are going to play, and there's a chance that we could play a festival that's like got a bigger name than Dances. No offense to Dances, but like, or at least is like a bigger genre film festival than Dances. Like we have a couple of those that we're like kind of maybe on the short list for, and so I guess the thought is we don't want to sign up with any rep or anything until we play the biggest festival we're going to play, because then we might attract better reps,
Correct.
And we don't want to like shut ourselves off early and like get locked into people who maybe aren't the best for us.
Them watching the movie doesn't, if they're people that you don't take seriously anyway, then it doesn't matter if they watch the movie now, is how I feel. Like the movie's not going to change. But if they're people that you think you could leverage a better deal for yourself if you premiere at a better festival, then yes, I would wait till they watch it under those conditions.
So I guess the question for you is, there's a couple questions, but the main thing is like for somebody who is like maybe in a similar situation with me but doesn't have the person to vet them or doesn't really know much about this world of sales reps and producers reps, like what is the value that they bring to a project, and like why should we care and like want these people to sign up and try to rep our movies for us when we could like go out to like 1091 or other production like distributors just directly? Like why do we want these other people?
You can go to distributors directly, but it doesn't mean that they're going to take you as seriously as they would if someone came and pitched the film on your behalf. And since I started doing sales this year, and I've done sales I just got a new client. I just met with them today. So I think I have like half a dozen sales clients right now. And it makes a huge difference if I go to a distributor and I say, I love this movie, you have to look at it, versus I'm an indie filmmaker. I made this movie. It was a labor of love. It would be great to work with you. Would you take a look at it? Mm-hmm. Those are two different places. One is a place of strength. Like, I want to loop you in. This is a movie that's appropriate for you, and I'm recommending it on behalf of the film team. But really, there's a lot of passion here. And then there's like a little bit, and I love desperation, but there's a little bit of desperation when the filmmaker does it themselves. And they can sniff that out. And so it's a place of power. That being said, it doesn't have to be a sales rep, a producer's rep, or a sales agent who does that. It could be a filmmaker who worked with that distributor before, who could be like, hey, my buddy made this movie. I really love it. Will you take a look? And that you're not paying someone 15, 20, 30% of your revenue and an upfront fee to do that.
And so are you basically in the same category as these people, like doing the same kind of job, like, but just as a freelancer?
Yeah, but my model is built as a counter to theirs. So I found out the lowest price sales agent, and I priced myself $1,000 less than them. And then I don't take any revenue from the back end, because I believe that revenue should go to the LLC, should go to the filmmaking.
So you don't take
a
a percentage at all? You just
No.
take a fee?
I just take an upfront fee. And then what I tell people and what I truly believe is my work is mission based. I am a matchmaker. I'm trying to make matches between distributors and filmmakers. And I help inform negotiations from a place of you having most control, you being able to get out if there's a bankruptcy, you having for flexibility, with a sense of flexibility. Whereas many producers, reps, sales agents, and sales reps operate from a place of profit motivated. So they'll make the best deal, financial deal, like the one with the most amount of upfront money or the most guaranteed money. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best match. And ultimately, it might put you on a platform that you don't even want to be on, that most people won't want to watch, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there's like a little bit of nuance to it that I'm trying to bring.
Right. So like, yeah, a sales agent may try to just get the biggest upfront money, the biggest deal, but like they're not really concerned with how your movie is being represented or where it's going. Mm-hmm. It's more like just like where's
and
the
some are.
Most money.
To be fair, some are. And also the most money may be $2,500. You know what I'm saying? And that sales agent already has their upfront fee from you, and then they get 15, 10, 20% of that $2,500. So it's just, I think it's, if that's the only money you're going to get from a distributor, I just think you're going in the red immediately if you're making the wrong choice and your partner is there.
So all these reps, they're all going to want an upfront fee in addition to a percentage, or are some of them just going to take a percentage only?
Most take an upfront fee. And I don't know all, because there's a lot out there, and I think there's a lot out there that are not filmmakers, so they don't know the way we've suffered for getting our projects off the ground. There are a few good sales reps and agents out there, so I don't want to speak ill of everyone, but I want to say that the way you kind of suss out whether they're worthwhile or not is you often just go to their website, mm-hmm. right? And you just look to see what other titles have they done, and do you want to be in their company? And obviously, we've talked about this before, you can reach out blindly and coldly to those filmmakers and ask them if they've been happy, but most likely most filmmakers will say they were not happy with their sales agent or sales rep because most filmmakers have, I think, a distorted view of what their film could do because they don't know how bad the marketplace is. So I think there's, in general, just a level of disappointment across the board for a lot of filmmakers.
Right, because all the filmmakers are expecting that they're going to make more money or get more eyeballs on it or whatever, and then their reps only deliver so much, but maybe that is actually what this movie is capable of, or the best they could possibly do, and there's no better, for that movie. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Well, I don't really know what we're gonna do or what this is gonna be because I had a conversation with Jeff about this, and we're talking about because he was saying I'll do deals directly with different distributors, and then he was talking about getting a rep or having someone like Gersh or CCA take the movie out and rep it, and I was like, well, why would you do that if you've sold to these same people that they're going to? And then he was saying in certain situations when the movie is hot, if those kinds of agencies want the movie and want to rep it, their ability to get a better deal for the movie is a lot better than his, for instance, right. And
it probably offsets their percentage, to be fair, but if someone said Gersh wants to take your film and rep it, I would say yes, because to me it's I'm not paying the revenue to them. like, it's not a concession, because getting to work with Gersh, even if they're like part of an entrenched system that I don't believe in, I still feel like it's a humble brag for the future. You know what I mean? Gersh is taking out my film. CAA's got my film. Like, there's something really powerful about that in this ridiculous nepotistic industry that we work in. So, and I also want to say, though, what's very specific about your situation is I work mainly with documentaries, dramas, comedies. You know, I don't necessarily work in genre as a rep, because I don't know genre platforms, and I have no relationships with genre distributors except for like maybe Terror, and I mean there's just like a very small handful. So I just want to acknowledge that the sales reps that have approached you may be really good at finding placement for genre work, and that's a different caliber of company than the one that than like an agency or like than like a Cinetic or a Submarine could do for you. Yeah.
Like what I've been looking at is like doing exactly what you said earlier, like just looking at the movies that they're repping and like what's on their website, and then like just seeing the sci-fi category specifically, and then if it's like a bunch of, you know, Battle Los Angeles ripoff movies, or like, you know, like whatever superhero ripoff movies, which is like there are a ton of these. It's like, does my movie really fit in that kind of category of sci-fi? Or is there like, you know, just trying to find movies that feel like my movie, you know, and like don't, like, doesn't seem like a mismatch, like you said, you know, and that's sort of what I'm looking at more than anything, is trying to find a place where it feels like my movie would be happy sitting next to one of their other movies, you know?
Well, for what it's worth, and I haven't seen the latest cut, if someone were to say to me, I have a sci-fi film, and I was trying to think of advice for career advice and a distributor that would help your career, for me it would be like Gunpowder and Sky has a platform called Dust.
Right.
And it's like, Gunpowder and Sky is really cool. It's a legitimate brand. It has a lot of cachet. Dust would be a specialized sci-fi platform that you could live on. You know, I don't know if you'd make a lot of money, but I am a optics person. So for me, I'd go for like the most sparkly brand, because I don't think we're making a lot of money, as truth be told. So you should pick something that makes you look the best.
Yeah, that would be cool. They actually reached out to me about my first short film, and I was like, it's already out. And they're like, oh, you know, I probably should have just listened to them and like taken it off of whatever and gone with them. That would have been smarter. But I didn't know who they were.
You don't know that they were going to take it for sure either. Yeah. And you said that first film was the one that got you a lot of eyeballs. So.
Yeah. Anyways, this has been interesting. I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about this, but like, yeah, I've just also been overwhelmed and feeling like very emotional about this whole process of film festivals, you know, like getting rejected by them, you know, which is fine and like totally makes sense. Like, and a lot of the rejections are like ones I've been expecting, you know, but then like I also get acceptances, and it's like the acceptances don't really feel as good as I think they should, you know. It's like I should be more happy when I get into like, you know, X underground film festival, but it's like, you know, it just doesn't, it's not buoying my spirits the same way that I get crushed when, you know, Fantastic Fest rejects me, you know. It's just like, but maybe that's just a personal thing, and I need to like work on like being more excited about the things I do get. You know? No, because if you got a yes from Fantastic Fest, it means more than getting a yes from X Underground, right? Right. So of course the rejection from the festival you really wanted to get into hurts you more. Right. And also we're in a global pandemic where yet again people are ramping up and closing down. You know, where what happened last fall is happening again. Yeah. And so it's not like there are a ton of in-person events that you are looking to right now. I know you have a few, obviously. Yeah. But a lot of things are going virtual again. Yeah. And I don't know. I guess there's also just this like thought of like, am I doing enough for my movie? Am I like making all of the right moves and like reaching out and promoting it enough? And I just feel like, you know, like I'm doing a good amount, but I don't feel like I'm doing enough. And I just feel like there's probably not ever enough that I could do that would make me feel good about this. But I mean, yeah, definitely need to be doing more, but it's just like there's just so much to do, like trying to finish the movie, making a teaser trailer, like we were talking about last week. It's like all this work that you have to do and like trying to prioritize like what's the most important, you know, and like to some extent it's just like getting all the, you know, materials to the festival. That's like the most important, is like getting all the festivals what they need, and it's like that's the baseline. And it's like on top of that, sending out posters, sending out postcards. It's like whatever. But I mean, I think I can just do all I can and just do the best I can and just be happy with it and, you know, keep going, right?
Well, my cynical response, which I do believe, is that everything you do for your film is going to bring back a very small return. Anything you do right now is probably not going to tip you into overnight success territory. Right?
Right.
So, yeah, prioritize your sanity, prioritize your family, prioritize the most important tasks. And then if you have time, do those little icing on the cake things in terms of promotion, in terms of getting attention. But I think to put pressure and maybe even like some guilt on yourself for not doing every possible thing is really bad because, you know, and festivals work really, really hard. But that you know, the festivals you're playing in general, and any filmmakers playing, is not going to do everything. Like, nothing's going to... The machinations of this industry are so far from us that it's, like, very hard to, like, get access to a place where you feel like you're included. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's like everything you're doing is going to amplify your portfolio as a filmmaker and your film, but... you're not going to turn this movie into an overnight success from all the things on your to-do list.
Right.
So just do the things that you want to do.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that mean? I hope that's not too,
it's not
it is
mean.
very negative.
No, I think it makes sense. It's just like, yeah, like postcards aren't going to like shake the
It's not going to change
earth,
everything.
You know, it's not going to be like, oh my God, you didn't do postcards. Your movie's a failure. It's more like, yeah, it's just a thing you can do if that's what you want to do, and that's
it's a slight added bonus.
Yeah.
And if it takes more than 4 hours of your time to do it, maybe you don't do it.
And there's only so much money you can put into these things, because obviously I don't have a marketing budget set aside, so it's all coming out of my pocket. So it's like, do I want to go to one more film festival in person, or do I want to hand out postcards at one less film festival in person? It's like, what's more important? Where is that $100 gonna go? You know? It's like,
or do you want to just stay home and hang out with your family for a few hours? You know what I mean? Like, that also is an option. Yeah. Do you want to go and like watch your favorite movie for a few hours? That might be worth it too.
Yeah. Very well said. I mean, you're making me feel better, believe it or not.
Good.
It's just like, don't let the world crush you with like, oh, I'm not doing enough Instagram posts. I'm not doing enough this. I'm not doing enough Seed Spark updates. I'm not doing enough blah. It's like,
every filmmaker you know has a spreadsheet of rejection, just so you know.
Yeah.
We all have it. And we all have been through those emails where you're just like, whoa, 2 in one day? I can't take it anymore, you know?
Just one last funny story. I don't know if I talked about this online or offline, but I maybe it was offline, but I was like, okay, you know, I hadn't heard back from, you know, like all these film festivals. I submitted the movie like 4 months ago to these festivals, and it's like gone, now it's finished. So like I'm a month away or like a week away from the deadlines on these festivals. Let me like reach out to them and remind them that my movie exists and that there's a new version. So if I'm in the running still, like they can watch like the newest version. So I sent out 10 emails, and I kid you not, within maybe 2 minutes of sending one of the emails or 5 minutes of sending out one of the emails, I got a rejection from one of those festivals. They're like,
so it could have been really bad coincidence.
Oh yeah, you want to check in? Rejected. And then that day, I think I got 2 more from other film festivals who I had emailed just to let me know, like, nope, you're not in. So I feel like part of me, like the really positive Alrik brain is like, oh, well, that means the other ones that didn't reject me immediately, I'm still in the running for those. So I have a chance. Maybe they are taking another look. And like the negative brain could have been like, oh, they're all rejected. You know? Well,
that's the Liz brain. Okay, but let's talk about where was I going with this? Oh, it's that filmmakers are very, well, first of all, I think we're really sensitive people. But the other part of it is that like we Okay, so I think I've talked about this in the show before, but you have to be to a degree delusional to make a film in the first place, because you have to convince yourself that it's a really good idea to do this high-risk venture with very low guarantee of return, right? So you're a little bit in a weird, chaotic mental state, and then you just want someone to say it was worth it. And then film festivals are like, bam, 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 let me poke you and prod you and pour lemon juice on your wounds. So I'm just saying that, like, it's extra hard because it's a personal film. You've been working on it so hard, and because you're putting a lot of power in the corner of film festivals.
Yeah.
And because they're the very first audience for you, and you feel like maybe, I'm guessing, that it may be some sort of harbinger, but it's not. It's just a film festival. It's just a film festival.
Yeah.
It means it's important in that little corner of the world.
Yeah.
In the film festival corner.
Yeah.
It's not everything. And I just got rejected from a film festival today or yesterday for my short, and last week for the same short. Been rejected pretty regularly for that short. We've had 3 acceptances, and I think everything else is going to be rejection. So
How many did you apply to?
I think we only applied to like 12, but that's because we had to all agree on the 12 festivals, and it was contractually obligated. Like, it became like a written rule that we had to apply to those film festivals. But for the next film, I'm ready to get rejected over and over and over again.
Do you feel like 12 is like a good number to submit to for a short film?
No, it should be much higher than that.
What do you think the number should be?
Like 30 base.
And
base.
what about for a feature? Same or more?
Like 50.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm like, I have this. I'm so insane, Liz. I don't know what to do for myself. But now I'm like, I applied to too many.
No.
I applied to 80. Why did I apply to 80? I'm insane.
I think I applied to maybe 100, 80 to 100 for my first feature, and then like maybe 60 for my second feature.
Yeah, I think I applied, to be real with myself, I think I applied to like 95.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, holy shit, Alrik, are you just a stupid moron? Like, why are you applying to so many film festivals?
Because you want your movie seen, because you care about it so much. Again, these are all like positive things, and I just think that there are too many film festivals.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot. I don't want there to be less filmmakers, but I'm just acknowledging that there are too many.
Well,
and there are too many films being made.
I think what I did wrong was I applied to ones that my movie would probably never get into. Like Napa Valley, I probably shouldn't apply to.
Why? You could have. I mean, I know that from what you're saying, you didn't get in, but like, right? But I don't think that's a no. I played Napa Valley, and I know the other films that played Napa Valley. I think that you could have gotten in to Napa Valley.
But no Napa Valley films are going to have the ending my Napa Valley film has, you know, like no movies are that bloody and gory, right, that are playing in Napa Valley, or do they have bloody, gory movies at Napa Valley?
I think they do, though. I don't think that they're like exploitation city, you know.
But I like, you know, like I applied to like Oldenburg and Cork and like the Coney Island even, or like Woodstock. Like, these are not the film festivals, I don't think, for genre.
Coney
film.
Island is not a film festival of note, but so just to throw that into there.
Yeah, don't apply to them anyways.
Yeah, don't include Coney Island. But I think you need to apply to international film. I never applied to international film festivals, and I always regret it. I always wish I did.
One of the things I've done right this time is I've applied to a bunch of genre film festivals that are international. So, like, there's a bunch of Italian ones and German ones. And, you know, some, there's like a Brazilian one that I applied to, and like a few in, you know, Spain that I applied to. So I feel like those ones are the ones that I kind of feel like we have a better shot at, you know, and like going back in my mind, it's like, why are you applying to like if they don't say, like, if they don't mention genre in their Film Freeway thing, I should ignore them. Like one I got into, which I can't say yet. It's like they're not letting me, but it's a pretty good one. I told you offline. They had genre like listed in their list of, like, you know, what they give awards for, and they have like a genre section. And it's like, if they don't have that, I should not apply. And I totally broke that rule. Like, I applied to too many film festivals that didn't have genre listed, and, you know, I mean, because
you're in the what if. You're like online, you're looking, and you're like, well, maybe.
Yeah.
What if?
And I probably shouldn't apply to Sundance anymore. Like, I probably should just stop applying to Sundance. But, like, part of me is like, oh, if you don't apply to Sundance, then you'll never get into Sundance. So, like, maybe you should just still apply to Sundance. Like, I don't know. Anyways, these are all the emotions and things I'm feeling right now. Whatever. People could probably relate. But, I don't know. I think the bottom line is, like, I've gotten into, like I've heard back from, like, probably 25 plus or so, maybe. And I've gotten into, like, 7. So, like, my percentage is actually pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like, you know, so I shouldn't really be complaining. I should be feeling really positive. But I think the thing that's killing me is I'm not as excited as I should be about how many film festivals I got into. I should be more excited, you know? I should be like, oh my God, I've gotten into 7. Holy shit. It's amazing. But, like, I just
Welcome
can't.
to being Liz. This is what Liz's life is like all the time.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to
just
turn the corner.
negativity.
Just be like, yes, this is amazing. I'm going to have all these freaking laurels. All these people are going to see the movie. It's great. But
I think it'll happen in a few months for you.
maybe. If I only get to this one film festival, then everything will be good, Liz. If I just get into this one, then my life will be perfect.
You're like the what is it? The gambler, like the addicted gambler, just gotta hit once,
Right.
Just gotta get my snake eyes or whatever. Like you're just
Yeah,
like,
I feel like that's like something that like we need to like really work on as filmmakers is like not putting so much weight onto one film festival and not feeling that way and not being like, oh, I need to get into this one in order for my film to have meaning. It's like, fuck that line of thought. Like, you may never get into that X film festival or any like 20 of these X festivals that are like really important to you as a filmmaker. So like, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just like be happy with that you play any film festival because it's so hard to get into film festivals, you know?
well, there's two camps, right? Like either you reverse engineer your film to actually be considered at those film festivals, where you go after the name cast that play those film festivals, you team up with a team who's alumni of those film festivals, or you don't care.
Yeah.
You can't like not play the game and then get upset at the game.
Right.
I think
you just, to me, it's like, I don't know. I'd rather just make movies rather than like worrying about like getting like, you know, like C-level version of Ryan Reynolds in my movie or like whatever actor. Like, it's like, who cares? Like,
so don't play the game, Alrik. Then you just reminding yourself, don't play the game.
get the best actor that you possibly can to do the best performance that you possibly can. And then if you can get some named people in, great. But like, you know, when you're making an under $1 million movie, like trying to get named cast is like, you know, I don't know, trying to do something impossible, like Fly.
I am gonna counter yet again.
You've done it, yeah. But you're like such an outlier, Liz. There's so few people who have made movies.
I thought I was an outlier, and then Matt Enlow told me that many people do what I do, and I was just like, really?
Matt Enlow's up. That's not true. There's not. I mean, how many people have gotten like, you know, names like you have gotten in your movies for a $100,000 movie?
For those, probably
None.
they just my budget level's smaller than those other
Oh,
movies
yeah,
that he's talking
for
about.
sure. Like maybe
Yeah.
for a $500,000 movie, like that's like probably increases the amount of people who are doing that, you know. But like
For sure.
my buddy, my producer, I can't really talk about what movie it is, but he's doing a movie for, you know, a lot of money, way more than we work on, and he couldn't get any cast that was appropriate for this production company. So the production company left the project because they couldn't get enough people.
Well,
and he already had his money like raised, and they're making the movie, and they're like, oh, well, we're not going to take it on because you couldn't get like X person in the movie.
That is real, though. Like, I'm running into that with some of my projects where, like, all the people on my list that I want to work with that I think are name cast, that if I were self-financing it, I would go after these people, are not big enough for the rest of my team.
Right.
The teams that we want for. That is a very real problem.
Which is
And you know
crazy.
but that list of people that production company probably is thinking of is like 8 people. It's like a very small list.
Yeah,
And
I wish I
that's
could
what the
say
shame is.
some of the names that are on
Yeah.
this list that like are like, I don't even want that person in my movie. Like I want better people than that, you know. And it's just like, but they have this budget, which to us would be like super high. They have it raised. They still can't get these people in the movie, you know, and they're not like Hugh Jackman names. They're like names that you'd be like, oh yeah, that person.
No, but they're calculated for markets, right?
Yeah.
It's like that market really loves that actor or like has performed well with other titles. It's math, but it's very frustrating because it allows no imagination and it doesn't allow us to do what we really want to do. Right? Which is to work with great talent to watch the magic up front.
And it makes it harder for talent to like explode because it's like it's all based on these math algorithms, and you can't put like another actor who's like great, been in plenty of things, but like they can't be in the movie because they don't match the algorithm the way that, you know, I'm just gonna say it, Ryan Felipe does or whatever, you know.
Oh yeah, that's funny. That's an interesting name because there's a lot of like late 90s talent that's still really, really meaningful.
Right.
And it's hilarious to me because I like,
I wanted you to be like, yeah, that's one of the names that I've been hearing.
No, I mean the names I'm hearing are like Kate Blanchett. You know, it's like Aubrey Plaza. I don't know.
Oh, well, that's like on a
really
whole another
huge
level. That's like, you know,
Yeah.
that's like a $10 million movie problem, you know, whatever.
Right.
I'm talking more like, you know, smaller than that. But
No, I know, but the math doesn't work out, and it's like you have to keep your budget low. Even if you have a lower budget film, even if you have a $500,000 film, you have to have cast of a certain level for financiers to be
right.
secure in what they're doing.
And getting those people in a $500,000 film is like you have to be their friend in order for it to work.
Right, because what I always did, right, was scale for talent and MFN. So everyone was getting scale. So there wasn't this bullshit politics hierarchy in how I cast my films. But if you're above a micro budget feature, you are now like, people are like, why are you paying me scale? You have way more money. I deserve more money. And then you have to play the game. So it's actually difficult.
And then
right?
you get
It's
priced
super
out of
difficult.
these people really fast because like your budget, you know, might be higher than, you know, micro, but it's still not high enough to like be throwing like these huge contracts at all your stars, you know.
Because it's not just the day rate. It's like I forgot what it's called, but it's like Schedule F maybe. Yeah, where you like toss a little money their way to like consider to as a gift, it feels like, to give actors. Like I heard about an actress who did something for $75,000 and that was thought of as very low. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, we don't have an extra $75,000 in our budget. It's like, oh my God.
That's like you can get ludicrous if you start at that level and then maybe you have to offer him a little bit more than that, you know. And
Oh,
then
I'm sure.
maybe you can,
I'm sure more.
But
way more.
my production designer worked on a movie that Ludacris was in, you know, and I think it was only like a $2 to $3 million movie, or maybe even less, you know. But like that was probably what he was getting was like Schedule F, you know. And I was talking to a casting director, and I was like, I threw Ludacris out in there, and they're like, oh yeah, if you start at Schedule F, like maybe he'll listen, you know. It's just like, oh God, I can't do that. That's like half my budget. You know? Anyways.
Yeah. Also, then it's like your crew. Like, what are you paying your crew in order to get that for you know? It's like there's just like this weird power imbalance. We don't have time for You've Got Mail though. I think we had too good of a conversation.
Too good.
And yeah. But should I take us out? Oh! But just a reminder that this is the last week to win 2 free tickets to Alrik's film. The premiere on September 11th at 11:55 p.m. They are free to give away to the most exciting individual who wants it, and we're running it on Twitter. So come on Twitter, follow us, and we want you to answer the question of what would the alternate universe of your life be?
Has anyone responded yet?
No.
Damn
but
it.
We've gotten like a ton of retweets, but just no one has responded. And I think to be super candid, I think a lot of people that listen to the show do not live in LA. And so I don't think that they can make it.
And we can't fly you out from wherever you are. Sorry, unfortunately. Yeah. But maybe I'll be coming to your town with the movie because we do have there's 2 more in-person screenings coming that I can't announce yet. But they're in different parts of America. So actually completely opposite parts. So yeah, that's very exciting. So I don't know. Keep you posted.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Yes.
So if you would like to send us a question, comment, or suggestion, to do so, please, to podcast@makingmoviesishard.com. If you like the show, you can leave a review on iTunes. We would love that. You could go to our YouTube page, leave a comment or a question. Support the show on Patreon, www.patreon.com/mmihpodcast. Give whatever you can and is truly appreciated. And check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you to whoever. I'm going to be vague about this because I don't want our cards to be shown, but whoever gave us a gift on Instagram. Thank you very much. And YouTube. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at MMIH Podcast, and YouTube at Making Movies is Hard Podcast.
Thanks, everybody, for listening, and thanks to Elza Kephart for coming on the show, talking about Slaxx. That was awesome. And to Tatum Wan from Katrina Wan PR for setting up the interview. Thank you so much, Tatum. You can check out our website at makingmoviesishard.com, where links to the things on this episode will be posted at some point. Thanks to editor Cameron for doing the editing, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Who's worth it to be here with instead. So, anyways, I think I should just redo this whole thing. This is terrible.
What? No! Okay, if you want to, but there's at least one good option in there that you've already done.
All right, well, Cameron, what should I do for you? Should I do it again or just let you figure that out? I hear him screaming at his computer, do it again! Okay, I'm going to do it again.
Okay.
Welcome to Making Movies is Hard, the podcast about... This is beautiful, beautiful blooper material, Cameron. Welcome to Making Movies is Hard, the podcast about... I haven't had such a rough start in a long time.
Sophie's very short. I'm a bitch.
Exactly. We don't even need to play the clip. Just play that.